Boundaries are not about rejection. You're not rejecting someone by setting a boundary. Now, they may take that way, but that's their problem, not yours. A boundary is a protection. Think about it. A boundary is like you have a fence outside your yard to keep, let's say, stray dogs from coming into your yard. So it's protecting your well-being, protecting your home. And because you do this, it then allows you to care for other people more effectively without abandoning yourself. Namaste. If you are tired of doing things for everyone else without feeling appreciated, you might be a people pleaser. I know, I've been there. And I like to think that I am a reformed people pleaser now because I learned how to set boundaries. I'm still a work in progress. I can always do better at that, but I am getting better at setting boundaries. And that's what I want to talk about today. So the importance, why do we need boundaries, and how we can go about setting them, especially if you are someone in midlife who has been doing a lot of stuff for a lot of people over the years, whether that's in your business, whether that's in your family. If you're a woman, odds are you have probably been a caregiver at some point in your life, even if you're just taking care of cats or dogs. Because I know not everybody is a mother of children, and that's okay. You might be an aunt. Maybe you take care of your nieces or nephews, or your business is your baby. And it's so important to have boundaries in all of those places, because otherwise you can have a lot of stress in your life. You can have a lot of anxiety in your life. So what do I mean by boundaries? What does that mean, really? Well, as I said, it's about saying yes when you want to say no a lot of the times. It's doing things for others, almost getting to be doing it as a habit, or just automatically when someone is looking for a volunteer, you're like, oh yeah, I'm there. Or maybe it's just jumping in before even somebody needs help. Maybe you're just that go-getter person and you like to be in control and you just want to take care of everything. In moderation, that's a really good quality to have, to be that go-getter, to be that leader, to be someone who takes action and also takes care of people. I mean, that's a really good quality to have. The problem comes in when you're doing it at the expense of your own health, physical and mental and emotional health. That's when boundaries become important. Because again, when you don't have boundaries, not only can it cause stress and exhaustion, but it can also really contribute to low self-worth. Because if you are placing your value on making other people happy, well, let's face it, sometimes what you do is not going to make people happy. And then you have to deal with that disapproval. And that can really trigger shame and self-doubt. And that's not a good place to be. That's not a happy place. It's not a happy place. So that's where boundaries are needed. Another thing that can happen if you don't have boundaries is that when you are always putting others' needs first, putting others' preferences first, it can now be hard to know what you want. What do you really, really want, as the Spice Girls used to sing? you start forgetting. And I gotta say, and so I'm gonna share a little story here from my own life, is that I started doing that at some point. And I know it started as a kid, actually, because I was the peacekeeper of the family. My mother and father were often at odds, and, so I would be the one who would try to, you know, "Go tell your father this, and go tell your mother this," and so, yeah, I'm that person in the middle, and so I learned that also because of tension in the house, and sometimes my mother, God rest her soul, she's a wonderful lady, fantastic, amazing person, and also had a good Hungarian temper. So I would do whatever I could to please her because I didn't want to be on the other end of her ire and have her be yelling at me. And so this led to, and I still even remember this at a young age, her like buying me a particular outfit to wear to school. Oh, that I just thought was the most hideous thing in the world, but I couldn't say that I didn't like it because I was afraid of consequences, that she would yell at me. And I didn't like that. And even right now, it's like, oh my gosh, I can still feel the tension in my chest coming up, remembering that. Ah, Mom, I loved you, but man, I really wished I could have been more honest with you. And hopefully, I've done a better job raising my own kids so that they have been. I think they can be honest with me. I think they've been honest with me. I hope so. Anyway, um, so yeah, that's why boundaries are important. And again, so see, it can start in childhood, and then it can continue as an adult. And so I remember I remember, and I might have told the story on the podcast before, but I was at a conference, or workshop or something. No, I guess it was a conference. Anyway, the point is, they were having us imagine. They were doing some mindset work and having us imagine what would be our ideal life. And at this point in my life, when we're going through this exercise, I was drawing a blank. I couldn't come up with anything of what my ideal life would look like. Oh, gosh, yeah. Just thinking about that just makes me so sad for that version of myself that I was back then. Thankfully, this was many years ago already now. It's probably about 8 years ago, at least, and I learned that, yeah, I had to start setting boundaries, and one of the biggest boundaries I set was asking my husband for a divorce. And let me tell you, that was a scary proposition because I didn't know how he was gonna react. But I decided that I was tired of settling. And that's what having no boundaries leads to, is that you wind up settling. You let the other person have their way, and instead of sticking up for yourself and saying, "No, I'm not happy. I don't wanna do things this way. I want it to be different." Bleh. Okay. Let me clear out some of that stress. So let's talk about the benefits of setting boundaries now that we know kind of what it causes. Blah, a lot of negative energy. Whew. Okay. So when you set boundaries for yourself, this helps you to have less stress. It helps prevent burnout. It allows you to protect your mental health. It helps to create safety and clarity and respect in your relationships. And this can be, personal, but it can also be business relationships too. I didn't even touch on that. Let me, I'm going to come back to this again because I want to talk about the business part of this, because when I was um, first starting out doing copywriting, online marketing as my business, I had a client who loved to set appointments with me to have these strategy sessions, and we would plan out what he wanted to do with his marketing. And we would talk, sometimes up for an hour, and I would actually meet him in person and we would talk. And then he wouldn't implement what I suggested. So I had to learn to set a boundary with him and say that, okay, we're only going to meet for this amount of time. And eventually I wound up letting this client go because he would keep complaining that he wasn't getting the results from his business. His business wasn't growing, but he wasn't taking action and doing the things that I suggested that could help him. He wouldn't even try. So I can't work for someone like that. So that's where I say that's where you have to set boundaries with sometimes with clients and say, uh, you know, set work hours. In fact, that's something I had to do too, because when I first started in business, I would be available, on the weekends and, almost 24/7. And you'd have to have a life, people. Okay. Yes, your business is important. And of course, when you're first starting out, yes, naturally, you're going to spend a lot of hours. But eventually you get to a point where you need to, and I would say even set this up sooner rather than later, is set expectations with your clients and say, yes, I will be available. You can call me from, 9 to 5, but otherwise send me an email and I will respond to you the next day or whatever it is, whatever is good for you. But set those expectations, set those boundaries, because otherwise you can really find yourself in a bad way. So when you are able to set boundaries, it allows you to be more sustainably compassionate. And I would say compassionate when it matters, because you're not always serving from an empty cup. You are filling yourself up. You are practicing self-care. And that's what a boundary is. Boundary is an act of self-care. And dare I say, self-preservation as well. And it helps to define your responsibilities, what things you're going to take care of and what things you're not. And that way people understand that, this is their responsibility. Like when I'm coaching a client, for instance, I set expectations that they need to be able to, they have certain things that they're required to do. They have an intake form to fill out. They have weekly, assessments to fill out to kind of be, or if we're meeting weekly, to let me know that they accomplished what they said that they wanted to get done that week. And if they didn't, that's okay too. And we can talk about that, but they need to be able to do that. So it's, defining what I'm going to be responsible for and then what they're going to be responsible for. And this way, everybody's on the same page and there's no surprises. I like when I started working with, when I've worked with virtual assistants in my business, I've learned that I needed to set boundaries with them. I needed to set expectations. So it's so good. Now, I can hear you saying out there, okay, yeah. This sounds good in theory, but if I try to set a boundary with somebody and they don't like it, I'm going to feel bad. I'm going to feel guilty. I'm going to feel selfish. Okay. Yes, you might feel that way in the beginning. But guess what? Like anything, setting boundaries requires practice. Okay. And it requires getting comfortable with feeling uncomfortable. There's this great song. It's an oldie. Oh, it's from the 70s, I think, by Rick Nelson. It was called Garden Party. And it's, you can't please everyone, but you got to please yourself. So this is what you have to do. Setting a boundary is a way of pleasing yourself. And the more you do them and the more you get used to doing them, it's going to help you to feel more in control of your own life. You're not letting other people dictate your life. You are regaining control, and it gives you more peace and more freedom. And it requires a key mindset shift. So here's the deal. Boundaries are not about rejection. You're not rejecting someone by setting a boundary. Now, they may take that way, but that's their problem, not yours. A boundary is a protection. Think about it. A boundary is like you have a fence outside your yard to keep, let's say, stray dogs from coming into your yard. So it's protecting your well-being, protecting your home. So a boundary is a protection of your well-being. And because you do this, it then allows you to care for other people more effectively without abandoning yourself. Okay. Got it? Boundaries are good. Okay. Boundaries are good. If you take nothing else from this podcast today, know that boundaries are self-care. They are necessary. And think about it. Think about people who set boundaries with you. Hopefully you appreciate that they're doing that, because again, it allows you to see what you're responsible for and what they're responsible for. So how do we do this? How do we start setting boundaries? Well, first, you gotta become aware. You really do. You got to become aware of where in your life or in your business are you feeling a little resentful, taken advantage of, exhausted, perhaps, anxious? What are those situations like? And take a look at those. And then, as you're doing that, make a list of what you need more of. What is it? Do you need more rest? Do you need more time alone? Do you need emotional safety? And then also think about, what is it that you need less of? Maybe you're tired of people asking you for last-minute favors. Maybe you're tired of being criticized. Hey, I think nobody likes to be criticized. Maybe somebody is always dumping on you emotionally. God rest her soul. I can think of I used to have a lovely friend who, well, actually, now that I think of it, also had a mother too, bless her heart, again, who loved to just vent. Would just vent about all the things that were going wrong in their life. And I prided myself on being a good listener. Well, it's good to be a good listener. It definitely, being a good listener is great when you're a podcast host and you have a guest on. That's where I want to be a good listener, and paying attention to how my guest is answering the questions and what they're saying so that I can then follow up. But being a good listener in those cases can be very draining. And I also had a client one time too who, uh, again, was one of these people who just rejected every advice I gave her, and so much so that I started having a stomach ache while I was on the call with her, and I had to finally just say, "You know what? I don't think we're a good fit because you obviously don't like my suggestions. So let me see if I can connect you with someone else who might be able to give you the help you need." And that's what I did. I referred her to somebody else because we weren't clicking, obviously. And frankly, just listening to her reject, reject, reject was not good for my emotional well being. So, yeah, so start with that self awareness first because that is going to give you a clue on where you need to start setting some boundaries. And then you can start practicing. And in fact, um, one I think I did this one time in a workshop actually where we did practice, um, not not only because when I'm teaching the love method, I always talk about being open to receive, and we'll practice receiving compliments, but it's also, um, I think I did at a different workshop where we practiced saying no to someone. So it's it's good to do this with small stakes. Maybe someone just invites you, maybe just to meet for coffee or something, during the day, and you're working. So, you could start by saying something like, "You know what? Oh, I would love to go, but I can't do that right now. I can't take time out of my day right now. Maybe we could meet on the weekend, perhaps." Or you could, again, maybe somebody needs a favor and you could just say, I'm sorry, but that won't work for me this week. Maybe another time I can help you out. So you know, just start. Oh, I know what I was going to tell you. Well, yeah, this isn't really saying no, though, is it? Yeah, never mind. Again, it was more about receiving. So right now we're setting boundaries. Another day we'll talk about receiving. So again, as you're doing this, as you're practicing, you want to be able to use simple I statements like, "I understand this is important to you, and I'm not able to help with it right now. I hope you find good support. I don't mind helping once in a while, but I need more notice in the future." So something like that. And as I mentioned before, expect some discomfort. Yeah, it's gonna feel icky. Your tummy may get a little upset from time to time as you're doing this. Maybe you get some tenseness in your shoulders, or however it is for you that you feel uncomfortable. Just recognize that, and in fact, you could even make a mental note of yourself to yourself saying, yeah, oh, this is making me uncomfortable. So this is probably something that's good for me. Gloria said, yes, to expect this, that if I'm setting a boundary, I might not feel great about it. So expect it. And remember, you're not being selfish. Are setting, you are practicing self care. You are practicing self care. And that is a really good thing to do. So be aware of that and just kind of lean through it. It's okay. And if you are dealing with someone, and I will say that sometimes it could be someone who's a bit narcissistic, who really likes their own way, and they want, and I think sometimes that's, I think narcissists and people pleasers are probably attracted to each other, and there's some sort of energy thing. I don't know this for sure, but I'm just thinking of my own life. Um, People in my life who I have been a little bit of that. So if someone pushes back when you start setting boundaries with them, and it very well may happen, just calmly repeat your boundary again, or maybe walk away. Say, you know what, we'll have to discuss this another time. I'm not up for it right now. That's okay. And if they are still pushing, guess what? Now they're the ones being selfish because they want you to do what they want you to do. Did I say that right? Yeah. They're the ones who are like, really pulling you in to take care of them. And if this is not a life or death situation, we're just talking, maybe they, whatever, want you to help them move or something, and you're busy that weekend, whatever. But they're really being, or they start laying on the guilt. There are some people who love to lay on the guilt. Oh, come on, if you don't do this, oh, I'm going to feel so bad. And you're always so good about doing this. And I can't do it without you. Did I get that whine? Very good. I wasn't whining quite enough, but I bet you've, at some point in your life, you've had someone say something like that to you. So hopefully you stood your ground and just said, I would love to do this, but it's just not the right time for me, or I am overwhelmed right now. I can't take anything else on. I would love to help you. I am so sorry. Another time, please feel free to contact me. And then follow through. And, whether that is leaving the conversation, it might be that you have to start limiting contact with this person. Because if they get to be really pushy about it and they're not respecting your boundaries, if they're not willing to respect the boundary that you are setting up, then that's their problem. And you don't have to put up with it. You don't. You don't have to put up with it. So adhere to your boundary. And every time you do a little happy dance, celebrate, whatever, but just tell yourself, yes, you did it. Oh, I'm so proud of you. Pat yourself on the back, literally. And say, yes, I did it. Because when you do, oh man, it releases those endorphins and you start feeling so much better about yourself. Oh, and it's just a really good feeling. And then, like I said, I think I mentioned at the beginning, practice makes perfect. The better you get at setting boundaries, the easier it becomes. And let me make sure the idea here, I want to make sure I reinforce this, is not for you to become a selfish person and not do anything for anybody else. Okay, that's not what I'm advocating here. What I'm advocating is that you don't be a people pleaser on default. That's not your default setting. You choose when to help people. You choose who you want to help. It's your life. Okay? The name of this podcast is Design Your Life Your Way. So you get to decide how often you want to help, how often you want to participate, how often you want to volunteer, who you want to help, how often you want to help them. Maybe you are very happy with perhaps once a month letting a dear friend of yours vent. Just as long as you are doing it consciously, you are choosing and saying, you know what? I am going to be there and let her do this today. And hopefully it's because you really love this person a lot and you know maybe she's going through something right now and you're like, yeah, I don't want her to feel like she can't come to me and talk to me about this. So I am going to be here. Now, you might still say when you start on the phone call and say, you know what, I am free for the next hour. So let's get into it. What do you want to tell me? What's going on in your life right now? And then as the hour comes to a close, then you need to also say, oh, darling, I love you so much. I hope my listing has helped you. And I've got another appointment I got to get to. And guess what? That could be a little white lie. It's okay. They don't have to know. You can say, oh, you know what? I've got somebody who's going to be coming over in a couple minutes, or I have to go meet someone in a few minutes. So I'm going to have to go now, but I really enjoyed our conversation and I look forward to chatting with you again soon. That's okay. Because again, you're setting you're setting setting boundaries for yourself and for this person, male or female, whatever. So, yeah, it's so important. Take care of yourself. It's so important to do that. Okay. I want to share something with you right now. I want to share one of my favorite modalities that I love to share on the podcast. That is my intention today, that it will help you release some of the stress you might be feeling, even just this feeling about setting boundaries, so that you can release that and know that setting boundaries is good for me. And in fact, if you need to write that down and say, setting boundaries is my self-care. Setting boundaries is my self-care practice. Setting boundaries is good for me. Write that down somewhere so you can see it. So you can, as a reminder to practice it. But I want to share with you a light language transmission right now. And this is a spoken or sung message that I will share for you to listen with your heart. It's not something necessarily that your brain understands, because it will sound like a foreign language, and that's okay. And it's not something I'm able to even translate word for word. It's something that when I share this with clients, it's really about an intention, and it's a feeling, and it's an emotion. So I'm going to set the intention that what you will receive today will be for your soul's highest good and will allow you to take care of yourself by setting boundaries. So if you are listening to this while you're driving a car, pause the podcast, come back to it later when you can be seated in a nice comfy chair, put your feet on the floor, close your eyes if you'd like, and just set an intention for yourself that whatever you hear today, whatever emotions it might even stir up possibly, because it has been known to do that. The first time I heard light language, I cried. So just be open to whatever your soul feels you need to feel today. And yeah, there. Okay. All right. We've set it up, so I'm going to trust that you have paused and you are back now. So just relax. Maybe just take a deep breath. Let it out. And just take a moment and listen. Ko kayo na hiye, koya no ku ka hua hiye, sono ku ka hua kuyane, so ka Sakshon Korea Bongara de Palna Kreyamo Koyena Kayebata, Ho Kana Kiara Leatoko Shingare, Padayano Kayana Kiyamana, Kaliano Kuapa, Kota Kuhu Kayotuia, Sono Karyono Gare Pariono. Panaku aye, sonoya no kuya nekie, sakusho no kurea poka, ana kria manoma kale yata kinka, apakushin no kuria patingare, poyano keria nakasha nakigaga, ala tingare, pariatotuma, kariataki yoshaniano, hamaku wapati kushianoka. Ala tingare, pana kingare, kasha no kaku, kaya na kaya toeka, shionogaya patogaya vashankopa, kala yotno kuana, shionagaya patoko pa shinga, saria, koye manakaki. So that's light language. If you've never heard it before, I hope you liked that. And if you're a new listener, yeah, especially if you are a new listener, just know, yeah, whenever I do the solo episodes, I love to share that because it's a gift that I've been given, and it benefits. It's a self-care practice for me because it helps me as much as it helps you. At least I hope anyway. And I would love for you to, if you experience something today, if you're even ever curious about it and you would like to know more about it and maybe even experience a session for yourself, I encourage you to reach out to me. You can find me on social media. I'm on LinkedIn. If you want to leave a comment on this YouTube video, if you're watching it on YouTube, that would be great. And yeah, I'd love to chat with you a little bit more about it. So I just want you again to remember, boundaries are good. Boundaries are not selfish unless you take them, totally out of proportion. But I'm going to trust that you are going to set boundaries where it's appropriate in your life. And remember, might feel icky at first, but the more you do it, the better it will start coming more second nature to you, and it'll be okay because it is a way of practicing self-care. So I'll be back next week with some more ideas on how you can embrace this incredible season of life that you're in right now and that we're all in right now. And yeah, so stay tuned for that. And be sure to check out the description of this video for a full rundown of today's important links. Share the video with a friend if you enjoyed it. Share it on social media. And again, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I really love hearing from you. And it also helps me figure out how I can best serve and support you going forward. So until next time, remember, you are never too old to start a new chapter.